professional with over 8 years of experience covering both the offensive and defensive sides of the industry. As a Navy veteran, he has worked with customers across the Department of Defense to conduct vulnerability assessments and penetration tests in order to improve the cybersecurity posture and remediate any issues discovered. He has conducted hands-on training with blue teams to improve their skill sets and lead them to recertification. In both the public and private sector, he has performed risk assessments to ensure organizations were in compliance and following best practices. Jake, take it away.
All right, awesome. So yeah, to get things started, I'll just start sharing my screen in a moment. All right, sharing my screen now. We're going to start briefly with the PowerPoint presentation, but it's just a few slides to kind of get things established, and then we'll move on to the live attack that we'll be going through for most of today's session. All right, so already introduced me, but I'll talk a little about Cloud Range, a company I work for. We were founded in 2008 to address the growing skills and experience shortage that was found in cybersecurity. Proud to be the industry's first remotely delivered cybersecurity simulation training solution, establishing a new category there. But yeah, as was described, I think touched on a little bit. The main thing we provide here is cybersecurity training to teams who practice incident response. They come onto our range, which is a virtual simulated environment. Resembles a real network, of course, connected to a fake internet and everything, where we launch cyber attacks on there. They come in and they're able to then hunt for these threats, find out what was going on, and ultimately clean out the attack and prevent the attacker from coming back in. We also do lots of things like training such as this one here today, amongst other things as well. Some growing challenges that we've noted there is an open, currently about 3.5 million open cybersecurity positions. Skills gap continues to seem to grow. A lot of cases of on-the-job training simply not being an option. So this is one of the big reasons why we're here to provide this type of training along with others. All right, just touching on the how everything is interconnected these days with IT, OT, and the Internet of Things. This means, especially in the realms of OT, that lots of things that weren't previously connected to the internet and susceptible to attacks now increasingly are. All right, and today's big thing we'll be talking about will be ransomware. So just some statistics it's hitting on here. The fact that the percentage of attacks that also compromise the backups is about 57%. So more than half the time, the attacker not only encrypts your files, but they manage to hit the backups as well. Percentage of ransoms paid by insurance, about 23%. And the average ransom paid in ransomware attacks, I don't believe this is last year's statistic, is 2.73 million, which is pretty high for the average there. Okay, so that was just some quick background stuff here. Let me just switch things up really quickly to get to the range up here. Need to do that. Let me just reshare immediately. I already had it all set up. Okay. All right, so right now in here, I am logged into a SOC workstation on the range environment itself. I don't know why the desktop background isn't displaying, but either way, this looks right. It should say Cloud Range there, but not a big deal. So to get things started with, before even getting into what's going on in general, I'll just do a little overview that I give to teams, just so things make a little bit more sense as I'm explaining them during this. A big thing I want to show everybody is the network diagram. So just make this, I'll probably refer back to this at times just so everything is perfectly clear and makes sense during the mission, or sorry, during the session. But you can see here, this is our network diagram, what we're dealing with. I always say that it's like a real network diagram in that not every device is documented here, but it overall gives you a good idea. So things I can point out right away is we live over here in the SOC segment. You might see from the top here, it says it's another trainer's Marcus. I'm on his range right now, but it says SOC 01. That would be the SOC segment. This is where we're residing. And you can see over here, we have, this is our internal network. We've got server, user, SIEM segment. OT won't be relevant today, so I don't need to worry about that. And as well as a DMZ segment hosting servers available to the internet, or the fake internet here. So yeah, just to get a good idea of what we're looking at today and where these attacks might possibly target. Yeah, things to note here is these are the internal IP addresses here, but externally they'll appear in this range. That might not be relevant for today's simulation, but if it is, I'll bring up the table so we can see those correlations. But okay, so that's just a lay of the land there. I'll just leave that minimized for now. Anything else I should discuss here? No, I think we're actually good to get started. Okay. All right, so a lot of these simulations, we have prompts associated with them. So for this particular type of attack, the prompt that the teams would receive is a fairly simple one that users in the user segment are reporting that when they log in, they receive a message telling them that their files are encrypted. So right from there as a starting point, at that point, a team would be good to begin their investigations. Someone could try logging into one of those hosts to see directly what's going on, while others might want to take a look at the various security tools to try to see if they can learn anything about the attack first. So we're going to go with that option just to see if we can spot any alerts that might give us information about what we're dealing with before we dig in deeper. So to start there, I'll go over to Security Onion, just take a look at some of the alerts it's generated. So the credentials are saved in here for mostly convenience. I could also reference there's a credentials document. Actually, I'll just show this really quickly. But if you're wondering how people would get across the range, pretty much all the creds you need for every device are listed here. So that way the teams have full access. But for the tools, it's all saved. We just log on in. All right, so in Security Onion now, I'm going to first take a look at the alerts section and then immediately probably freak out because these are way too many alerts right now. Don't be intimidated by this. This is the traffic generator was left on for a while. This is not normal. I don't force teams to deal with this much noise in there. But in this case, I can just bring us right to the alerts we'd be caring about here as if this noise didn't exist. So I'm just going to go do that. Since, hey, the noise is too noisy because you just have to look for the ones that didn't generate hundreds of events, and we might be a little more aligned towards the attack there. So if in case you ever saw that, that's another way you could get around that. But anyway, to get started, around here is when we're dealing with alerts that are relevant to the scenario and not just noise. So down in this range here. So we're going to want to start taking a look at some of these and then seeing what they tell us about this attack. So right here, it mentions possible malware, a trick bot. So I'll just drill down on this alert to start. Okay, so before I even go look closer at these alerts, several things stick out right away. Definitely worth documenting and making sure we follow up on. One is that these are all internal IPs. I'll just touch on the network graph, but yeah, as you can see, it's like a fairly standard network, nothing crazy going on with the IP ranges. It's your internal for both DMZ is 172, 192 for server. So in this case, we can tell these are all our internal server segment here. I would know this because this goes 192, 168, 200. And in the server segment, that is how the IP range is, the 200.1, 100, 10, 12, 6. So coming back to this, we can see here that we wanted to keep track of these servers here. I can tell you that this would represent the domain controller, the .1. The .100 would be our DNS server. And this .6 is the file server. So there's potentially things going on there. Any team would want to definitely make sure they noted that down to come back to you later. Just as important, though, is the fact that they're all talking to the same external IP address. It's another piece of information we'd want to keep track of, since we can see this IP is potentially doing something malicious, so we'd want to take a look closer at that. But all right, we got a lot to get through, so let me just start going through some of these alerts here. So this one here, this is Security Onion. The way it works is it's operating based on what it sees from the network flow. It's not actually like getting the events from the devices themselves and alerting on that. It's purely network, so it doesn't always see as much as some other tools do, but it's able to catch certain things as well. So very useful in that regard. But I'm looking here, the major sections I'm trying to look at is message and the network data decoded, just to see if there's anything that really sticks out and would be worth searching on or looking into later. But I don't see anything here that would really help me in that regard, other than the fact that Security Onion did see suspicious traffic to our server segment from this remote IP. But there were other alerts to look at, so we'll just back up to there. Have to go to the end again. But okay, so that was this top one here, 15, when it starts being reasonable with the number of alerts generated. So we'll continue on down here, see if there's anything else we learned before we get on host. All right, so we see hunting suspicious possible office stock with embedded VBA project. Does that stick out to anyone as what that might possibly be, just based on that rule name? Right, yeah, no big deal. So in this case, obviously, in this case, it's just mentioning an office doc. So my first intuition or guess would be potentially some type of macro was included in this Office doc. We'll have to look at other alerts, and that this was embedded, probably what was in the macro itself. To note, that same IP address we saw mentioned in the previous alert is communicating, but exclusively with this IP address here, which is not in the server segment. You can see here that's the 100.120. It appears to be this first workstation here. Okay, definitely want to make sure we investigate that. In this case, we know from the prompt that users were complaining, so double the reason why we should check out that workstation. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Okay, so I want to definitely take a look a little bit more on this alert here, see what I could gain from it. Though this might be like the other one, where while the top part was interesting, I might have to dig around a bit more to learn extra. But something stuck out to me right away, but I won't say it just yet. We'll see if it's more obvious down here. Okay, is there anything that actually sticks out in this field here, or even this one, as just being legible and not gibberish? Anything that just sticks out there?
The IP addresses.
Yep, definitely those IPs. Yeah, we can see they're referenced all the way up here. And at the top here, it's doing us a favor by kind of breaking these down here as the important stuff. But yep, that's partly where it gets that. The other one that would in this big field here is the fact that all of a sudden you have this very legible string right here, word rels document xml dot rels. I'll explain exactly what that refers to when we get to that segment later, but just do note we're dealing with a potential Word document here that has something embedded in it, and this will be relevant later on. So I definitely would make sure we note that as a team. Okay, so there's still more alerts to look at before we move on to another tool. We'll look at the host. Definitely want to make sure we see if there's anything else we could glean that might help us when we're looking on host directly. All right, so again, retrieving on an unusually high port. All right, this seems to be a lot of traffic seems to be associated with that first workstation. So definitely another thing to note there, that it seems to be targeted more so than the others. But okay, here we go. Sorry about that. So we come in here, we can see on their network data decoded that it did understand that there was a GET request for a doc1.m. So it looks to me here, we have found a file name, very useful. I could potentially search for this within another tool or going into, say, Kibana here, or look for that on disk. But 100% that is something we'd want to note that keeps covering it. Okay, that this doc1.m is a file we should be looking for since it seems to be involved in this attack. And that potentially is the one that contains the malicious macro. Okay, let's back up again. Since security did give us a lot of useful alerts this time. All right, so this seems related to the .m. I feel pretty confident we've learned what we needed to there for now. I'll just check out some of these other ones to see if I can find other evidence of a potential lateral movement or other servers being impacted. Okay, so this appears to be targeting a DMZ server. Whether or not this is related to the attack is something we'll have to determine as we investigate further. But this is interesting to note since it doesn't necessarily stick out like the other noise alerts. This one might also be worth investigating. Yep. Okay, so yeah, there's a lot of GET requests. This one might be related to the noise a little too, but it's something we'd want to investigate further there since we do see malicious activity targeting the DMZ. Okay, let's see if there's anything else that might stick out here as something worth investigating. Existence discovery, a user agent string that might give us some information as well. Seems related to this, this doc1.m. Okay, so we definitely want to take a look for that file. We'll probably head over to Splunk at some point and see if we can learn more about it there. But for now, let's take a look at what happens if we try to investigate the host a little. So what I'll use here on the range from the SOC workstation, let's make sure I did that, yep, in the SOC workstation, is I'm just going to use good old-fashioned RDP to get over to our Windows host. All right, so we know from up here that our IP is this one right here. So this 192.168.100.120. All right, I'm going to log in as a domain admin. In this case, we'll use an account that is simply named administrator. And the password here, I haven't memorized, but we'd reference the creds document here. Oh no, so we found the message that was left behind that the users have reported. So instead of the usual logon banner, we're being threatened by the attacker here. It says, greetings client, your files have been ransomed. We've upgraded you to our enterprise plan because you made us really angry. And instructions are on the desktop. We have 3 hours. All right, which is roughly about the amount of time a team would have at this point in the mission. But okay, so we're going to say okay. And allow it to sign in. Okay, so we signed in, and it seems normal at first, but I know something's going to happen in a moment, so we're just going to wait and allow this to occur. Oh, what's this? Echo off. Wallpaper style. Oh, what did this just do? So yeah, another aspect of this attack, in addition to that login message, is also this desktop background here, which obviously a bit hard to read. That is hex. You could try translating that by manually typing it out and getting it to convert from hex to ASCII. But I'll reveal that message later on because I don't think anyone actually wants to try to hand type all of that in. But anyway, this obviously gives us some signs of concern here. We directly received a ransomware threat when we logged in, and our desktop background has been changed. Sorry about that, folks. Throat's a bit scratchy today. But okay, so we see this desktop background has been changed. This is obviously not good. So we'll probably want to take a look around and see if anything was actually encrypted. So I'll open this up here. We'll head to we'll head to the local disk, and we'll just see if any of the users have their files encrypted. All right, and I can see that at least one user had logged in today. So I'm gonna go see if Rick's account is fine, or if I can see anything in his documents folder. Okay, well, he has something encrypted here, but it looked like he had too many documents in the first place. But right away, we can kind of see, okay, so whatever they ran against him, or for right now, this is the only host we know. Well, we know the servers as well, but this is the only host we've seen the encryption on. So we conclude that something must have been ran here to encrypt this file. Now, there's a couple things we might want to search for just as basic threat hunting. But for now, I'm going to hop back over to our security tools, see if I could learn anything from what we learned in security audio and try to follow a breadcrumb trail, if you will, so everything flows there. So to do that, I'm going to search for that doc1 file that I saw in that other alert and see if Splunk happened to catch anything about it. All right, so I just logged into Splunk, headed over to its search and reporting, and I'm not going to do anything too wild here. I'm just going to search for that file name, which is simply doc1.m. Hopefully it caught it. If not, did not. Okay, I'll first make sure that I spelled that correctly. Okay, so we'll have to see if it named it something else when it saved it on disk. Since it caught this part, but this might not have been the actual file name there. But that is definitely a good thing to search for to try to see if we could have learned anything about that. Okay, so we didn't see anything there, so we're gonna go. Could try just searching for doc, but that might turn too many results like Word document. But other thing we do is bring up my host as well. Is if we think that the user downloaded a Word document, we can try to see if that happens to exist in their download folder or not. So in Rick's case, we saw he was a user who had some things encrypted on his in his documents. So we'll just go and look at this downloads folder. Okay, so immediately we find that he has this medical imaging conference file within his downloads folder. So we might want to take a look at this. We'll hold off on that for now. But in this case, we're going to want to try to analyze this, determine if a macro is within it or not. So one thing you may have noticed, though, right, is we logged in, the desktop background was normal, and then it suddenly changed. There are certain things that run at startup. Does anyone happen to know some of those startup things that occur that may have caused that to happen on login? Sure, no big deal. So yeah, one of the things that we want to look at is there's a few things, right? One though that might immediately come to mind would be there's every user as well as the system itself have startup folders. They're folders that you can place files, executables in, and they'll run anytime a user logs into the system. This can be useful for legitimate uses, but threat actors can use things like that in order to establish some form of persistence. There are other forms we'll want to check in on as well, but since we saw that this occurred on login, it's not a wild assumption to assume that there's some type of startup file that was launching that. Okay, so to browse to that, what we'll want to do is, I happen to know these locations at this point, but you can just simply go into, we need to first view hidden folders actually. This will reveal the program data folder, which is where the startup folders live under. If I were to go into this, it's at this point, it's another thing I have memorized, but you'd go to Program Data, Microsoft, Windows, let's see, and then Start menu, Program Startup. Yes, okay, so, sorry, I had to remember that myself, but yeah, Program Data, Microsoft, Windows, Start menu, Programs, Start Up. I believe this is a system-wide one, while every user will also have their own startup folder. But anyway, this is a common location, right, for threat actors to hide files. One of many, actually. We'll take a look at those others soon. But right away, we can see in this one that they did make use of it. We saw something occur on login, so we're here now to take a look. And okay, so we see there's a batch file was modified yesterday, which would be when this attack had occurred. So we're going to edit to make sure we're kind of safely looking at the contents, and then see what this tells us. All right, so right away, I had seen that echo off right at the beginning here, and then it seems that it then invoked a PowerShell script. So as soon as the computer starts or a user logs in, this script runs, and it then executes this PowerShell updater.ps1. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna leave this artifact alone for now. We definitely want to make sure we're doing something with it in a real situation, but I'll just leave it alone for now. We definitely want to try to either delete it once we've determined it's safe to do so, or archive it to analyze later. But anyway, we're going to want to take a look at this script that we just learned about. So simply head on back, Windows, System, and then, okay, already there. And right away, we see this PowerShell updater script. And it's also created actually same exact timestamp as our Microsoft updater. So we'll want to then just take a look and then edit this as well. And see if we can learn anything here. Get rid of that. Okay, so right away, if we scroll down a little bit here, I recognize these commands here. These all popped up in that command window right after our echo off. So I guess we conclude that this was ran afterwards, and it does look like it is doing something to change the desktop background there. All right, see its path, it's changing a registry key for the desktop, name, and it's telling it to use a $sign wallpaper style. Okay, see if there's anything else I can learn there. See if it defines what the wallpaper was. Okay, okay, right at the bottom here, set wallpaper image, and it tells me it's C Windows background.jpg. I'm going to assume that is the background there, but let's just go take a look. We'll scroll down a little. Yep, okay, here it is, background.jpg. And indeed, it is that hex message. Okay. All right, awesome. So we've seen that here. Now, this attack actually has pretty interesting things or pretty fun stuff going on with it, in the sense that this one actually does react if the team happens to make some little poor choices when it comes to their incident response here. For instance, this PowerShell script, I'm going to, instead of deleting it to make this a little easier for me in a moment, I'm simply going to rename it to something else. PowerShell updater modified. We'll just call it that. So I've named it here just to simulate me removing or altering the artifact, and it already seems something. Yeah, so this one is set in a way that if that artifact is removed, you're automatically signed out after about a minute. And now I'm going to log back in there, and I have about a minute to go and fix that script before it'll sign me out again. So we'll just do that really quick. Of course, I might have had to wait a moment for the machine to restart. But yeah, while we're waiting on that, any questions so far on anything? Yep, I'm gonna have to wait a moment for it to reboot. All right, here we go. Awesome. Wasn't too long. Logging back in, accepting, and now to try to quickly get to that folder. Yep. Taking its time right now. All right, let's quickly rename that file. Oh man. All right, please. Okay, here we go. Let's see. Windows and system. Oh no, I didn't do it fast enough. It's all right. I do have another workstation I can swap to if I'm not fast enough on this. Might be the case, or I might have to log in one that signs me in slightly faster. But I'll give it another shot there. Maybe I'll wait a moment longer after it boots, or just. But we do have another workstation to do our investigation on.
So if we know the time of the attack because of what we saw, could we just roll back to a previous version where before it happened?
Oh, absolutely. And yeah, that is one thing we'll cover with ransomware. Is many cases the best solution if you do get ransomed is if you have a backup to restore from. That's pretty much always the best thing you can do in response to it. Unless, of course, they are threatening to leak it, and then that changes the calculus a bit. But if you just need to get your files back, though, yeah, that is one reason why having good regular backups is so important.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. Wonder if the long sign on there is partly costing me time. Yeah, maybe I should wait a bit for it to boot up more. Okay, I'll switch to the other workstation in a second and try to get that script back on another way so I can look at the macro afterwards as well. Because yeah, I think this long sign in might be eating into the time I have to go fix it. Because last time it was very quickly booted me out. Windows. Yeah, already it's not letting me. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna sign into another one. Let me. Actually, one second. I think I'm gonna be able to fix that another way, really quickly. Stop sharing my screen for one moment, folks. Oh, actually, no. There's no way I can do that as well. All right, never mind. Just realized what I could do instead. All right, yeah. So fortunately, this attacker did hit multiple systems. So because currently I'm not fast enough to go and fix that right now, I'm just going to check another one. And I have another way of getting us that macro to look at. But for that purpose, I will then hop on the second workstation, which also would have been called out in the prompt there. So just signing on in. Yes. All right, so this system also has a very similar thing when you log in, same exact message, and it's probably going to have similar things occur with the desktop background. Just taking a moment to sign in. Sign is also taking a while. Okay, so since we're waiting on that for a minute, we can do some more stuff in the seams to kind of find some more evidence before heading back onto those hosts there. So we found a number of things, right? We found that Windows Updater along with that PowerShell script. So if I wanted to, I could start searching for some of those. For instance, that PowerShell updater.ps1. We can see if the security tools had seen anything about that as well. Searching for that. Okay, returns us some results here. Right away, we just signed in on workstation 02, so we already confirmed it's also involved. But right away, we see that this also invoked to run this PowerShell updater, which exists down here within that C Windows System PowerShell updater.ps1. And you can see here, it's seeing that it's coming in and making those registry changes to the desktop background. Okay, awesome. So I see it's on workstation 02. Click here. It seems it's on the first and second user workstations. All right, so we've confirmed we had user complaints that those had these issues, and now we're seeing here. Okay, and we also see this event in particular, right? We can see command line. It's saying to run that PowerShell updater, and it caught that its parent command was that program data in that startup folder, that Microsoft updater.bat that we took a look at. All right, so we're able to kind of verify both of those things here within Splunk. All right, and from there, we'll want to take our investigation a bit further, see if we've connected. Okay, awesome. So this one's signed in now. I didn't modify the PowerShell script. Might actually be able to fix the first one in an odd way if I think about it, but we're going to go see and verify that this has similar artifacts first. All right, if we head over to users, we see Rick is present on this system as well. Interesting. If I click into his users, though, that's odd. This is definitely interesting note. Does anyone see something really that, other than this folder here, really wrong with this user folder?
It's missing some other folders.
Yep, it's pretty much missing everything you should see. If we just click on, we'll go to Fletcher. Fletcher, we can see normal user has all these links here. So this lets us know that I don't think Rick has ever signed into this device. I think the threat actor just simply reused these folder names across all the systems to spread their malware. Now, someone may have spotted this on the first workstation. We'll be able to search for and find some of these things in a second. But okay, I'm going to leave that open and then just verify certain things that I saw, like the startup folder. All right, so heading back under there to program data, Microsoft, Windows, start menu, programs, start up. All right, we've confirmed that our Microsoft Updater still exists. Awesome, that's good for us to see there. Well, we've verified that this did occur on both systems. So well, that means we should also find within the Windows folder, well, multiple things. One, background should exist as well. And then under system, we do see this PowerShell updater. Okay, awesome. So what we want to go from here is take a look at some of these files in Rick's user folder as well. If we open up SDX, we see 3 executables here. Right away, if we can't tell what they're doing immediately, now that we know the file names themselves, we can head on over to a tool like Splunk or another scene and then see what it has to say. Off by searching for banner. Okay, so we're finding that we can see that this was ran on workstation 02 and that they're running banner.exe. The name itself makes me think that's probably what was changing the login banner that we saw. We have to investigate more to verify that, but that is something here that seems like that's part of the attack as well. But okay, I'll see. I see that we can tell that it was ran as Rick Virginia. Okay, we're seeing HNDNS now. If you recall earlier in Security Onion, we saw one alert showing a number of servers being communicated with. This is indicating they were probably also hit by this attack. And I see it's also, again, running on the file server as well, another one we called out earlier, and the DC. So let's go back to that original alert. Move that over. All right, I want to say it was this very first one that we took a look at here, this TrickBot alert. And yeah, so DNS server, file server, and DC all being targeted, and we see that there's probably some type of correlation now between what happened here and what we're seeing in the attack. So definitely starting to gather more evidence of what's happening here. Now, another one that we saw in that folder would be DZ and Noir. So we're going to go see what we learned about these 2 executables as well. Again, a similar number of events. It looks like it may have been ran on these same systems. And okay, so I'm not learning too much from this alone, but I am at least seeing that, yeah, as similar to the banner, this was ran on all the impacted systems. Okay. See, now I'm going to take a look here, seeing if anything else sticks out. But it seems like we're only learning the same things here, that, it's Rick Virginia's folder, and that these EXEs were ran on the systems we've been tracking. Okay. All right, and then just to be thorough, we'll see if they happen to learn anything different about that noir.exe. All right, so similar information where I can verify that it was ran. This long string here, unfortunately, I don't think there's anything too valuable in this one. Yeah. But okay, and similar, we still don't know the true nature of these executables. We'll have to examine them more in a bit, but we can tell similar behavior across all the impacted systems. All right. Okay. All right, so another thing we can do here, right, to try to learn a little bit more is we didn't get too much from the searching there, but we do know now at this point is we're pretty confident of a timeline for this attack, right? We can kind of see, okay, this all occurred at 7:30:47. And if I scroll up through all these other events were generated around the same time. Yeah, 7:30:49. Okay, so one thing I can do, right, is I can now try to just search on a host and then try to narrow down to that time frame, see if I happen to catch any other traffic or activity that occurred. So let me just go grab workstation 01. I will get rid of Noir. All right, and now I want to look for 7 p.m. or 7:30 on the 21st. All right, about as far back as it goes currently. Oh, it's because we have it to the last 24. Okay, so I can now narrow this down further. Let's see. Wait, no, I have to double click that. Then after double clicking in here, it now comes a bit more granular. It's down to the minute. Let's see here. The big points that stick out is 724. Only 48 at 730, but we'll check out the 724 first. Okay, see some activity from the user Rick Virginia. ARP, okay, looks like ARP may have been ran. Net was ran. Okay, these are process terminated, so if I scroll down, maybe I'll learn a little bit more. Yep, okay. Oh, all right, here's PowerShell coming in again. Original file name, net view. Okay, so looks like they were using a bit of PowerShell, but we can see net view was ran about 6 minutes before we saw those executables being ran. Looks like a bit of enumeration may have actually occurred on this device. All right, see if we can learn anything else about it from here. All right, this one's showing netstat, but if I scroll down, I'll probably see the creation. Yep, down here is the creation. All right, they're in a netstat tag AN from system 32. Okay. Yeah, so it looks like I may have been, found something fairly early in the attack here, as I'm seeing all these different enumeration commands kind of come through. So I'm learning a little bit there. We can continue poking around now around this time frame. I believe this will take me further back. Might be able to catch some of their activity beforehand. All right, and I'm seeing a lot of just enumeration kind of come through. So there was one file name actually that I said we'd come back to and I didn't search for yet. Would be good to check that now is that malicious Word document that we still need to investigate. So I will re-grab it if we need to, but for now we're going to go see medical conference. Let me see, I have the name written down over here. Sorry, one second. Oh, it's medical imaging conference, I think. Sorry, one second. Let me get the name. Okay, medical imaging conference. Interesting. Okay, so I'm not catching anything on that currently. Okay. Make sure I spelled it right. Medical. Okay, not seeing anything there. So one thing I want to do to make up for the fact that I did the bad thing and got rid of what we needed, I'm just going to go and re-grab the malicious file from the email. So one thing you can do here is we can sign in as users. As in, obviously I just did that, but we can check user email as well. This is available from the SOC workstations, but we can simply use the web interface to sign in as the user. And just got the email since I made that change that has currently got me kicked out of workstation 01. So we'll sign in as Rick real quick. Every user has the same exact password in this domain, a very simple password with some 5s and exclamation point. Yeah, we can save it. It's fine. All right, so this is another thing we'd want to look at some point is verifying how they got the malicious macro anyway. But here we see, hey, from a Dr. Anthony Darwin telling us, here's a draft paper for the Medical Nuclear Imaging Conference that was requested for you to scan for sending to Val. Yeah, sounds legit. Okay. So what we're going to do is download it now. All right, cool. So now we can start to analyze this macro and see what else we can learn about it. All right, show the folder. All right, so right away, there's a few different ways you could analyze Word macros. One way that's a little risky is just to open it and then go over and edit the macro. But some of them that could be a bit risky due to the fact that certain malware or certain macros actually will do things like auto-enable the macro when you open it. Not all of them require user intervention. I believe this one might actually be one of those. So we're going to try to analyze this in a safer way. So there's an interesting fact about Microsoft Word documents, and they share a lot of similarities to another file type. Does anyone happen to know what file type that is?
I missed the question. What was the question?
Oh, yeah, so Word documents, they share a lot of similarities with another file type. Does anyone happen to know which type that is?
I know the icon is very similar with RTF files, but I'm not sure.
Yep. So in this case, they're actually very similar to zip archives. Enough so to the point where if you actually rename the extension to .zip, you can extract it just like you could a zip file. So we're just going to do that right now. It's now a zip, and I'm just going to tell it extract all. I think I just hit pin to start on accident. Extract all, and yep, that folder looks good. Awesome. And then when we open this up here, it's actually broken out into a number of folders where the content could potentially reside. Now, I'll speed us along here. We could just try going through all these different folders, but I know what we're looking for would be under Word, then underscore rels, and I want to say it's this one. We can look at both, but we're going to edit this first file here, this document XML. Actually, I think it is settings, but edit this. It's opening up WordPad. And is this the one? No, this I think is not the one. I'll just verify before, yeah, that looks fine. Okay, so it's actually the settings one we want to look at here, under here. But, yeah, so this is interesting to note because they've essentially changed one of the settings in here. Right here, this target is basically telling it what type of template to open up for Word. Normally, it'll just point to something, I believe, just on your system, but this target can be modified to even an external host where that doc1.m, I think that's what we were seeing in Security Onion. It was catching it getting the document template from this malicious server here. And as I hinted at earlier, what this template does is it simply auto-enables the macro to run. So in this case, we have an auto-enable macro that goes and gets this template, which will cause that to launch. So to go see what that looks like, I'll just, have to rename it back. I'll say it was docx. Yep, all right, we'll see what happens when I open it up now. Since it's already effective, you shouldn't do this obviously in a real situation, but I just would like to just show it for a demonstration. All right, oh, we might have seen right there. It said it was opening that template. It just mentioned, hey, CrowdStrike did something. That's funny because okay, that's funny. I wasn't even planning to reference that today. But yes, that automatically kicked in. That's kind of funny. But in this case, the macro was stopped short there, but it went and grabbed that template due to that setting we were just taking a look at there. All right. Okay, so we have been going at it for a little bit now. I think it might be good to take a quick 5-minute break, and then we can come back and continue along with this investigation here.
Sounds good. See you in 5 minutes.
All right, yep, see everybody in a quick 5. All right, so getting back into it. Let me share my screen. Okay, so we've taken a look at a few things here. We've investigated some alerts. We've taken a look at events in Splunk. We've also found some artifacts on disk that seem to be involved in this attack. Now, for the sake of time here, obviously teams would need to conduct some threat hunting, look around, try to use some of their knowledge to determine what's going on. But so we can get moving in our time here, I'm just going to skip ahead a little and just search for something that I know is going to give me results here. In this case, though, we'll say, hey, we know that there's ransomware going on here. So in this case, just to speed up, I'll see, well, what if they use the word encrypt at all in their encryption? Let's see, I should actually spell that correct first. Encrypt. All right, and thankfully this was already narrowed down to about the hour that we think the attack occurred in. So I'm at least narrowed down into a nice range here. Now we did see a lot of activity occurring around 7:30, so we'll back up to that time. Okay, 7:40. Let me just verify at the bottom here. Okay, 7:30. Next page will probably be good. And it is. Yep, as soon as we entered where we saw other activity in the logs based on the timestamp, I'm getting results for encrypt. It's on a workstation we've seen is involved, workstation O2. And it's got similar, the command usage is very similar, right? We may have seen this on the other attacks where they just run cmd, c, start, and then what they needed to run. In this case, because I decided to search for any type of encryption occurring here, I have now learned a couple things that they did run encrypt on Rick Virginia's documents. It's probably more noticeable on workstation O1. And it uses this thing called gerwer.exe. Very importantly, it's telling me that gerwer lives within this syswow64 folder. Very, very interesting. We're going to want to take a look at this artifact as well and see what else we can learn about it. Okay, but we'll continue to see if there's anything else that sticks out as interesting here. All right, we can see that this occurred on multiple servers now. Let's see if this bigger command had anything going here other than just a lot of this PowerShell stuff. Yep, I don't see anything sticking out. It looks like we're probably just seeing that they ran the same commands on each system here. They ran this gerwer executable, and they also just told it to encrypt Rick Virginia stuff. Now, I'll see if gerwer in particular had anything else being ran with that executable. All right, much fewer results, narrowing it down to 24. And it seems to be that, okay, yeah, this seems to be the extent of the activity. Let's just go verify. But I'm seeing the same alerts we just saw, where we can see that this is probably how the encryption was ran against Rick Virginia's stuff here. Okay, let's head back to our workstation. And let's go and find that on disk as well. So, yep, we're here. Go to this PC, and it was under Windows syswow64. All right, and we're looking for gerwer, so I'll just type G to go down there. It took me to that. Oh, but typing ger takes me all the way down to this executable. So this is another one we'd want to archive for later forensics to analyze further and determine exactly what is going on here. Though due to how it was phrased, pretty safe assumption that it was involved in encrypting the files that were being ransomed now. Okay, so earlier I mentioned that we'd want to check other common locations attackers like to use. So we're going to do that now, and we'll see if they happen to have used some common locations. First one is the temp folder. Go to Windows temp. See if they happen to leave an artifact in there. Temp is a very common location to use due to the transient nature of the folder. Files don't tend to last there long. So and a lot of admins might not necessarily check that frequently. So we'll just go through, though. That's not a guarantee our attacker used it. I'm not seeing anything that sticks out from these files around that time frame. 732 is the closest. Just take a look at it. Yeah, so this seems to be just about standard stuff here. I'm just take a little look. Yeah, okay. So nothing too much from that, but we do want to check these folders to see if a folder was created as well. We're going to scroll on down. There's a lot in this dump folder. Wow. And okay. All right, so we see a few things in here. The closest to the time frame of our attack are these two. I can tell you that this is normal on the range. Yep, this is on every machine. This is for a team, I would explain that to rangism if they found it, since that seems to happen on startup from this range. But yep, so just verifying nothing in that temp directory was being used by our attacker, at least that I can see, though we'd want to check this on other systems just to make sure. But all right, another one we want to check that's pretty common is a lot of threat actors like to use scheduled tasks for persistence. Yep, task scheduler, yep, that is the one. All right, so I will check here and see if there's anything that just sticks out as egregious. So we'll head to the task scheduler library. And I'll just check up here and see, okay, this one, create explorer shell unelevated task. All right, this is another one, pretty common to see this on the range, not related to the attack. So I will just go see normal. And yeah, so to spoil it and not go deep into the library and see if they hit it any deeper, I can say that in this case, the task scheduler was not used. So we verified, okay, didn't use temp folder, didn't use task scheduler, but we know they used the startup folder. Another common location we do want to check now would be the registry. All right, so we're going to go see if they happen to use the run keys as a form of persistence. That's another common thing, since they are ran every time somebody logs in or starts the machine. So we'll check the one that would apply to everyone. We'll head to the HK LM, HKey local machine, software, Microsoft, all the way down to Windows, current version, and then there's both the run and run once. We'll take a look at both of those keys. Let me make this a little nicer. Yep, head to run. All right, so run and run once. Run once doesn't have anything. Run once happens one time and then it's gone. So run's a bit better for persistence. But okay, so right away, one that does stick out. We have two that seem to have the name security health. One is security health, one security health update. That kind of sticks out as suspicious considering it's referencing some DLLs here, and that's about it. See if I can learn more about this. Value data, run DLL32 zip f1dr.dll, and then fuera. So we can search for these things. We're going to search for both the zip1 and the fuera, and then see if either of those were seen within Splunk. All right, let's see. Yep, we're going to go up to Splunk now. See. Oh, no, I didn't. Oh, that's right. Sometimes it does that with when you're RDP. But let me just. Oh, so that's the nice thing about Splunk is I start typing zip, and because it has seen that, it already suggests that it's a matching term for me to search for. So we'll just do that. Okay, so here we see command line coming in here. Original file name, run DLL32, and then we can see that it did indeed run this. This is all we're learning so far. So let me get rid of the, let's see, relative, should like last 24-hour. Here we go, 24-hour window. Actually, I need to make that a little bit broader now, I think. Nope, okay, we're still good for the moment. Okay, so we see a little bit more now that I expanded the range here. Seems to be just repeating some of these early ones, so not seeing exactly how this was created. Okay, so we can see that there's some activity around the time frame of the attack, but we still want to learn more about this DLL since it does seem suspicious. I'll see if Fuera happened, even though I can see it here, does it have anything called out on its own? Okay, it seems to be returning a similar amount of events. It seems entirely attached to this as well. Okay, so what we're going to want to do now is one way I can kind of confirm that there's something going on with that DLL is by browsing to the folder it exists in. So we'd, let me just cancel that. But we saw it's typically under the system32 folder is where DLLs tend to live. Let me leave that there for now. Let me grab this folder. Oh, wow. Okay, cool. Yeah, one of the temp one. So we'll go check under Windows System32. All right, and we'll just browse all the way to the end since we know it began with Z. All right, and I've already found it. So right away, we see two very similarly named DLLs. One is the zip, I want to say FLDR, which seems to have been created over 2 years ago. And then we have this zip F1 named similarly and was created yesterday. So we can kind of tell something malicious is going on there with this DLL due to the fact that it's trying to mimic a legit one and the fact that it was created at the time frame of the attack we've been seeing, 7:30 last night. Okay. Awesome, awesome. So in this case, we know this DLL is suspicious. We've seen that it is in the registry. So every time this computer boots up, it's going to run that DLL. So it's something we definitely want to learn what's happening, this functionality there. But in this case, I can spoil that little. I believe that is responsible for checking that this script exists and restarting the machine if it doesn't. So that is something we'd have to investigate and see more. But just for time's sake here, I can say that's what's going on there. All right. Yeah. Okay. So one thing we can do, and this one gets a little bit complicated. Well, I should say a little bit tough to parse. Is we're going to try to look through the strings of some of these executables here to see if there's any secrets within them we can kind of learn about. So if you recall, we found on all systems compromised that it's under users Rick Virginia STX. And we have these three executables here. Okay, so what we're going to want to do is I'm going to open up a new command line here. Shift right click, I believe. Yeah, we can open PowerShell. All right, so we're going to open up PowerShell here, and I'm just going to try to run the native find string command here to see if I can find anything interesting in there. So normally what I would suggest teams is they run a find string with a whole lot of options, but again, I'm just going to narrow this down to ones that will give us some better results. So I'm going to see if this the DZ executable contained any URLs within it. So we're going to go see if it has either of that, dz.exe. Might have to run this again and put it in a file. Oh yeah, yep. So we're just going to do that, make sure I did not miss anything there, and put it into dz.txt. All right, that way we don't have to deal with that. Oh, that's a huge file. Okay, yeah. So I tried to go through here. Might need to adjust my command a little, considering, yeah, there's a lot of stuff in here that's just not very readable. Though as we come down here, we see lots of things repeating. Lots of, okay, so yeah. Yeah, so this is one reason why string's not the most fun to, or find string, not the most fun thing to have to filter through here. Might try running some other commands instead to see if we can get something a little more usable. Yeah, we're going to do that instead. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to copy over a system terminals tool. So we're going to head back to the SOC workstation. And within the analyst tools folder, a lot of stuff that can help teams out. But for this case, we're just going to head into system internals and copy over strings from there. And then I'm going to get that output, run find strings on it, and see if I get something a little bit better. So I'm just going to copy strings, paste it in there. Awesome. And now instead, let's see, I'm going to run strings on ez.exe out to ez2.txt. Oh, what do I do? Oh, that's right. Strings.exe. Where am I? What did I do here? Strings.exe. I'm just gonna instead get myself a command line. Okay, cool. See if I can just do it from here, and then figure out what I was doing wrong. Strings.exe, dz.exe, 2.txt. Okay, I guess PowerShell does not like running sysinternals tools. I should have known that. But okay, cool. Okay, what did I do wrong here? All right, so I don't want to spend all day because I'm messing around with syntax, so I'm just going to go on here. I want to search for HTTP or HTTPS, so we're just going to Control F and look for those now. HTTP. And then let's see if any of these stick out. A lot of references here. Yeah, this is one reason why I'm not too big a fan of having to comb through strings, mainly because I don't have the syntax just right. It's not that readable. All right, let me see if I can, again, speed us up a little here. All right, so we got S to there, HTTPS. And I'm searching here because I know in this case I'm eventually going to find a URL that will be useful. Here we go. All right, so it takes a bit of knowledge of strings or to kind of read through this and find it. But ultimately, what a team who's obviously not one person in here for several hours eventually will find this URL in here, this GitHub link /timo ILY blob master readme.md. So I'm going to take this URL here and I'm going to see what is being hosted on this GitHub. So I should be able to access it right from the user's workstation just by going into that exact address. Gives me the security warning. I will say, please go ahead anyway. And it just downloaded this README. I'd like to actually read what it has to say, though. Let me just go back till we get there. All right. So this is the GitHub page that is linked to within our malware. And we can see here it's calling out to this string of text here. It has this README, and it has some type of string in here, probably related to the attack. This might be a string we could try decoding, though without more information, we'd be trying to figure out exactly what we need to decode there as well. Okay, so yeah, okay, so I'm seeing now, yeah. So basically, what this README is, it looks like it's a copy of that PowerShell script that we saw there as well, or at least some base64 encoded data related to it, possibly related to how they're able to detect that that file is gone and then reboot the device. Okay, but that's a bit of analysis of that. Are there any questions on anything we've gone over here? All right, so there's only a couple more things I want everyone to see here related to this one. Another thing, I believe in this case it doesn't get deleted, but they actually did use an encryption key. Notice how this public folder has a timestamp very similar to everything else we've been seeing. Well, if you head into the public folder here, this EEC key was used as part of the attack, as part of the encryption. It's supposed to be deleted. It looks like that didn't work this time. So it's actually kind of a bonus since a team would be able to look at it a bit more. But in this case, let's see if it says anything inside. Open up Notepad. It's not very readable. But yeah, this was partly used in the encryption here. Another thing that teams would eventually come in and find is this EEC key that was ran on these various files. Other thing to keep in mind is I've been focused on these workstations. You saw in the alerts that multiple servers were called out as well. A full team working on this would naturally have their bit more manpower to work with. So you'd look at those servers as well. You want to clean up the artifacts on them and ensure there was nothing unique that was occurring on them. But for time's sake, though, it was very similar to what occurred on the workstations with similar artifacts in those locations as well. All right. One more thing to show here is we're going to go back to our SOC workstation and just show what some of the firewall logs had seen, and if they see anything currently that would definitely be critical to know. So might be central. Okay, yeah, I think it's central, but we'll check the files of firewalls if needed. But there's a way we can see the traffic between our workstation as well as between some of these malicious IPs. So we're going to go. Find what I'm looking for. Okay, cool. All right, and Palo is loading here. All right, so if we go to monitor, oh wow, looks like I left that in. But basically, all right, so it kind of already jumped ahead of me here. First, I'd want to have looked for this workstation itself and then narrow down on the destination. But spoiler, looks like I already forgot to clear this out when I checked it. But in this case, we can see this connection between this IP and our this malicious IP here. What's interesting to note is the frequency that this is occurring. It's not perfect, but roughly every 10 seconds, we see that there's communication between these two hosts. So in this case, we get the sense that our workstation is actually every 10 seconds beaconing to this IP address, potentially transferring information or trying to send some other information as well. So the big thing here is how the firewalls can be used to see the, might not be able to see this on disk, but we can see here that, hey, this is beaconing out pretty frequently. And naturally, one thing you'd want to do is clear out our attacker and implement things like blocks on, say, this IP address here as well. So yeah, at this point, I'm going to double check, but I believe we've covered all like the major artifacts and such that teams would be expected to find in this one. From here, if they haven't done so already, it would be all about kind of cleaning up from this attack and as well as implementing anything to prevent our attacker from doing this again. So we don't want to archive any files we could, or better yet, restore from backup, considering these hosts are very thoroughly compromised, as well as implementing blocks, say, on these malicious IPs we've been seeing going across the network. But yeah, at this point, I think we're at 14 or so minutes left, and I've kind of gone through all the artifacts, so I think now would be a good time. If there's any questions and things like that, we can kind of move on to that segment. I also know we want to turn on the chat at the end as well.
Yep, I clicked the button.
All right,
I'm double
awesome.
checking it.
We have a question from Dwayne. Is there an average day for a forensic analysis?
Hopefully,
Oh, is this an
hopefully.
average day? Sorry.
Yeah, hopefully not, but I guess it depends on the organization and how many threats you're dealing with. But if an attack does occur, it isn't always as complicated as this one, but it is potential that a threat actor could definitely do a lot on your network. And I found in many cases, one thing that will just simply make it harder is if the attacker decided to hit lots of hosts, because that just exponentially increases the work there. Though I'll point out, at least in these scenarios or in real incidents, usually it's a team of people working together on them.
Did anybody have any questions about any of the cyber ranges we run, or any other general questions or things that have always stuck in your craw about ransomware? This is your chance.
Actually, one thing I will show as well is this was that background message. If you actually decode it, this is the message that was left behind. But yeah, basically a little poem mocking the admins and also demanding, I want to say it's well over $1 million in Bitcoin as payment.
It looks like we have another question in the chat here. If you were going to try and decode the executable to see what was run, what tools, sites do you use?
Oh yeah, so some basic forensics could be done there with like sysinternals and strings, though that's not the greatest. Oh yes, it's already on my screen shared. Available on stock workstations if they have the time and the knowledge. One of the heavier tools they could use is one called Ghidra. It's actually created by the NSA, and it's I'll even just launch it, but it's basically a tool for really taking apart and digging into executables, and it's pretty powerful. Though there is a lot of, I would say, a learning curve to it since it's a pretty powerful tool. New project. Next, I just want to show this really quickly. All right. Yep. Oh man. You can tell I'm not that familiar with it, but it's been a while. But oh yeah, because I don't have anything to import. I don't think right now. Unless I just did it. Okay, yes, awesome. So basically, this is a tool here where you could import an executable and then really just kind of dig into it from there. It'll tell you how different things function and such as that. But as I said, it's kind of a heavy duty tool, but it is there for analysts who wish to use it. And there are other ways to analyze binaries as well, but this is just the one we have available here that is pretty good for that. Yeah, okay.
And then there's another question here saying, does that come preloaded on Kali Linux?
I would have to check. We have Kali on a few things in the range, but I would have to see. I don't necessarily know. Kali. Even if it didn't, you could probably just download it really easily, I would imagine. Yeah, it might be something that you have to install yourself on Kali, but it looks like it's fairly simple to get on there.
And is there any, and this is my question, is there any universal tool that you would recommend that has maybe a good user interface or anything like that?
I think so. Geezer, I think probably is one of the better tools. I would say if someone just wanted to say find out about a binary, first thing you could do is check if somebody else already looked into it for you. That's where a site like VirusTotal, you could upload the hash, and then if that's already been seen, you can then probably find out what other people have learned about it. But yeah, so tools like that are one of the ways to test executables. Another way is if you have a sandbox environment set up, isolated virtual machine or something like that. You can simply try running malware on those sandbox environments and then observing what it does to learn how it functions as well safely.
Alrighty, is there any other questions? Something in the chat? Nothing in the chat here. Alrighty, well, thank you so much for joining us today for this discussion. It was really great and really informative. And Jake, thank you so much again. Many applause. That was really good information.
Oh, thank you.
And thank you again.
Yep, it was great having everybody.